All right, we are back and we are live, and Shorty's got himself a iced coffee. Tell me if I'm right.
I'm fancy now.
Well, I was gonna
Yeah.
say, Mr. Fancy Pants is in that hotel. How is it, man?
So I'm actually at a different hotel. Um, I say that the Waldorf Astoria, dude. I felt like I didn't belong. Like I went there and they're like, "Yeah, it's only valet parking, no self parking." I was like, "Okay, that's a trap. How much is it?" They're like, "It's $45." I'm like, "Fuck, okay." Did that, and
Yeah.
then we walked in. We're like, "Oh, this place is nice. Oh, this place is nice." And then we check in, do all this stuff. We get to the lobby or the hallway. We're walking. We're like the floor, the rug, the walls. Like, yo, this place is really nice. And then we get to the room, we're like, oh shit, this is awesome. Like, it makes you wish you were rich. And
Yep. Yep.
I had a beautiful view, all that stuff. Right now, we're staying at the Alora in Las Vegas as well, which is right across the street, but it's not as nice, but a bigger room, and
Okay.
it's dope. Like, let me see if I can just show you. Just the view alone right now is like there's the Spear. You have just different places.
Oh
So
yeah. No, that's
Paris.
awesome.
So it's dope. It's gorgeous. So just trying to mix it up and have some fun. But it's cool, man. Trying to I didn't get to celebrate my birthday 2 weeks ago, so finally being able to enjoy myself a little bit and get out of the house and not get punched too much in the face, or if I do, at least get away and I can cry alone in my hotel. It's always nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, like, because I know you you trained in Las Vegas, so for you to like stay at a hotel in Vegas, like, it must be nice. Versus if you were like a tourist and you like stay in a hotel and you don't know where the hell you're going, is it kind of easy for you? I mean,
Well, it's easier for me because I've been to Vegas so
yeah,
long now that or long enough to where I'm not a tourist anymore. There's obviously a lot of new things I still need to learn about, but I
yeah,
don't fall into the typical traps anymore. Like I don't know when I first got here, like you can take pictures of people on the street, but you have to tip them. Like it's technically a charge, or you're walking and always like you need to go to this event. You're like, oh, it's free, awesome, and then you're trapped to go into a meeting to discover something. So
yeah.
it's not to buy something, so it's not fun. But once you pass all that, you're pretty much good. Like you can tell even some of the people who are working outside that you're a local, and they're like they'll leave you alone. I'm like, hey, I'm a local. They're like, oh, never mind. So it's a very very touristy place, but it's cool, man. Vegas is I've been here for 2 years now, and then multiple times back and forth. It's There's always something to see, no matter where you go. It's Fremont Street, which I fucking love. That's like the ghetto place. It's called Old Vegas, but it's Fremont Street. There's Las Vegas, which is the Strip. Obviously, everyone goes there, and there's different parts of the Strip. So right now we're in the middle, but I'm telling you, there's always something to do. And if you want to lose your money, there's always definitely that
There's
too.
multiple ways of doing it in Vegas.
Oh, it's phenomenal. But yeah, man, like where we're staying, you actually need a key card to get into, the hotel room and then even into the building itself at night. So it's one of those like just leave me the fuck alone places. There's no casino in this hotel, which I enjoy. It's more of a family place, and then when you get out, it's like, okay, cool. This we can do whatever we want. It's a free world. So just trying to enjoy myself, and I believe we'll be here watching the fights tonight and tomorrow night. The PFL fights. I know we have some fighters for Lux, and then we have the UFC fights tomorrow night. Which going back to the thing we're talking about sleeping at the hotel, I'm sleeping on the floor right now. So sleeping in a hotel bed, oh, dude, with the view, so much better, so much better.
Oh wait, so you were sleeping on the floor? Okay, explain this one. You're sleep on the floor where?
So we're at like a big, a fighter house, and
Oh, okay,
I
gotcha.
technically don't have a fight right now. So there's right now, I think 8 to 10 people in the house, and we have multiple beds, but I'm also not fighting. So I'm coaching, but I'm also young, so it's like I can do whatever I want. If I need to sleep on the couch, I'll sleep on the couch. If I need to, I'm just here to help. And
Yeah.
so I came back from my 2 weeks of adventures from, doing different stuff. And I come back and they're like, dude, all the beds are taken. I'm like, fuck, okay. And I look, I was like, I can sleep on the couch, but that's the public area. Everyone's gonna be there. I'm not gonna really rest. So I was like, man, I see this little empty space. I was like, cool. We had this like super thin mattress that's about like this thick. It's not even. It honestly feels like I'm sleeping on the floor still because it's
You might
not
as well.
even anything
Yeah.
cushioned. Like it doesn't even go down. So I'm
Well,
sleeping on that right now. But it humbles me because that's what I used to do when I first started my career. Like that was the upbringing. I was like, I don't like it now because obviously I've gained so much in my life where I'm like, oh, I'm in a hotel or this or that. But now I'm like, oh fuck, I'm back to the past. This is actually kind of nice. It's really humbling. So it sucks, but also a good thing too.
Well, and when you stay in such a nice place, you realize like how lucky, like how much you appreciate it. Whereas you get those like Richies who stay in those places all the time and they just take it for granted. So when folks like us, we go in these nice places. Even for me, if I was staying at the place you're staying, I'd be looking at my wife like, "Hey, do we need to take a second mortgage or something?" Like this is beyond our reach at the moment. And yeah, like, I mean, a hotel like that has you need a key card to get in your room, but you need a key card to get into the hotel. That is some top-notch security. I
Hmm.
mean, I think what they need to do is you get a key to get in the hotel. If you can get through that, you get through and you need to get a key to get into the bedroom or into your room. If you get through there and you're like causing trouble, they gotta like hire a shorty security or something like that. You have to get through shorties. That's like the third line of defense there.
It's always the small guy at the end, the one you don't notice. So, um, yeah, man, it is crazy though. It's a cool place. I can definitely tell you. I look at security,
Yeah.
and it's usually like older people that they're like, nothing's gonna happen. You can just check the door, stuff like that. But I'm like, man, I can create havoc. I can beat all you guys up. I'm gonna create havoc. But I definitely obviously don't. But the UFC fights tomorrow, I know it's something we're gonna try to watch here, and obviously have the view in the background. But
Mhm.
what do you think about the fights tomorrow night?
Well, so I was actually I was kind of talking to somebody about this earlier, and we were just me and my buddy were kind of chit chatting back, and he was kind of asking me about the fight. So we're just kind of texting. So I didn't like I'm not putting up paragraphs here, but in a nutshell, I was kind of talking to him about this is really like the co-main and main event is actually really hard for me to kind of break down and decide because like you got I don't want to talk about the whole card because I could be talking 10, 15 minutes about each fight. But I think it's the Kai Kara France and the Steve Usyk fight, and that's a really hard one for me to kind of pick because I like both guys. Both are respectful, and they both are really good at what they do. And then you have Still Knox and Stylebender there, and that's also a really difficult one to look at because just the styles. And I kind of talked to my friend. I said, well, like if you look at the main event, the only way I can really pick anybody is maybe Adesanya has a little bit more of the edge in terms of technique. Um, but I think he's gonna have a very difficult time with the style of Still Knox because I find like he does this weird he has a weird kind of style and it looks really almost like messy in a way if you know what I mean. It looks really messy, but it almost like it's a weird style. And I remember we were talking about guys like Khabib, and I know it's completely different fighter, but Khabib, a weird kind of style where sure maybe like his striking's a little bit messy, but it's because of the way he throws it. It's so awkward. Some guys don't know how to kind of respond to that. So it's really interesting to see how Adesanya's gonna. Uh, I think how Adesanya's gonna respond to that, and also the fact that the way Sean Strickland fought Adesanya was the perfect way to fight him. And obviously, the two different fighters, but after seeing how Adesanya was beat, that only paves the road for next contenders to find what's going to work. So I really think that uh I think that he does have a good shot at beating Adesanya. It's just it'll be interesting to see how it's gonna go. Either this could be a one where Adesanya just whoops his ass and does what the style bender does, or this could be a really gritty fight where he puts Adesanya on his heels and yeah, I mean Duplessis. I honestly I really like him. I really think he's actually really good and he's got a lot of power. So it's gonna be interesting.
I think Duplessis has the advantage overall, just because again, this is an MMA fight. He doesn't mind taking the fight down to the ground either, and he's a very, very strong contender. Well, obviously a champion, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like he's just a very strong fighter.
Yeah.
The way he fought Sean Strickland, I mean, they went back and forth and they had a very good battle. I think the way he's gonna fight, Adesanya is almost the same way he fought, or excuse me, the same way Sean Strickland fought Adesanya. It's just pressure and walk forward. I just think Duplessis has a little bit of an advantage because of how awkward he is. Dude, Adesanya is a technical fighter. And technique will always conquer technique. The only problem is when you start facing an awkward fighter, if you can't adapt to it, then dude, you're especially straight from the get go. And with this pressure in 5 rounds, and hopefully he gasses them out for Duplessis, man, dude, that's a very, very tough fight. Now, Adesanya obviously has his knees, has his kicks, has his mix of different
Yeah.
techniques on the feet. On the ground, it's more than likely just escapes. So, I can see Duplessis trying to bring the fight down to the ground and trying to finish in a ground and pound or even a possible submission, but I'm gonna give the slight edge to the Duplessis because of how, like you said, how awkward and random he is. He's just so hard to kind of get a feel of what he's going to do. I mean, again, look at the Sean Strickland fight. Sean Strickland is a very forward pressure fighter. Sometimes it's pushed on
Hmm.
his heels and had to be like, huh, this guy's different. I can't hit him as much, or even if I do hit him, he can take a shot. So I give the advantage to Duplessis, but I think also it's an African fight. This is a prideful fight for both
Yeah.
fighters. So they're both trying to prove a point, and I'm excited to see how it plays out.
Yeah, and you bring up a really good point. And also on top of that, to elaborate on that, Duplessis does, in my opinion, he actually has very good defense. Like, yes, he gets hit a lot, but the way he kind of does this weird,
It like
almost
rolls with
like
it.
rolls with it and backs up at the same time. And I don't think there's a threat of Adesanya putting him on his heels and taking him down, unless if Adesanya starts having trouble in the fight. But other than that, like the way he backs up and absorbs the hits, and he does this kind of like he shells up every single time, and he does this weird kind of, I don't even know how to describe it, but I think with the defense, and I think with the pressure, he's got options, and I think when he puts Adesanya on his heels, I think that's something that he either can go the option where I'm going to start throwing bombs,
Mhm.
or can I use a couple strikes and get the takedown? Kind of what Bilal has done. I think there's definitely there's a lot more options I think for Duplessis than there is for Adesanya. Adesanya, he's very technical. I think he's a great kickboxer, but this is where now he might need to learn to change up his game. And we haven't seen what he's been doing since he's been off since his last fight. So it'll be interesting to see, has he put elements to his game that are different? Is he going to fight differently? He's going to fight more coming forward, instead of just counter striking. It's going to be quite interesting to see what he does.
Well, with Adesanya, the biggest thing is his losses that he does have in the UFC. Whether they were off days, whether he just never woke up, and obviously that's a thing. I know that from experience, and I know that from seeing other fighters as well that just don't perform sometimes, but have other performances and it's their day, and sometimes it's just not. The fact is, Adesanya is a good counter fighter and throws ones and twos, not much of a
Mhm.
combo type of guy, but because of everything Duplessis is saying, it's like, are you kind of giving Adesanya that blueprint of what you should be doing in the fight? Like throwing combinations, like mixing up the combinations, like walking forward or putting pressure on your opponent. Because he technically does the opposite. So
Mhm.
is Adesanya going to get prideful and go, nah, dude, I can knock you out with one or two combinations. I'm fine with that. I can be on my heels the entire fight and still knock you out. Or is he going to go, yeah, no, this guy is right. I need to throw combos, two, three, four, five punch or combination combos, and then go from there and maybe add some forward pressure. So again, I think it's also a very prideful fight for both. So I think Adesanya is going to show up, and I do believe both are going to have that fight of the night type of moment because they're both trying to prove a point, not just to say who is champion, but who in a sense is the real African fighter. Because again, you have South
Mhm.
Africa versus the rest of Africa, so it becomes a little bit of a battle. So I'm excited to see how that plays out.
Well, and you mentioned that, and I think this also could turn into one of those fights, kind of like Adesanya and Gastelum. That was a great fight. That was probably one
Yeah.
of the best fights I've ever seen. Actually, I think the main and co-main event were one of the best fights I've ever seen. I think it was Dustin. I think that was the time he fought Holloway. I think that was the same card, and that was just a great night of fights. And sometimes that's just what you get. And I think that could be another Adesanya Gaslam kind of fight of the night kind of situation, because I think also Duplessis is quite durable as well, so he's going to be able to eat some shots. And Adesanya too, like he can take hits. I mean, he took a couple good hits from Big Boy there. He went up
Yeah,
to get the light heavyweight belt. Like
Alex
it's
Pereira. Yep.
yeah, like it's crazy. So I'm pretty excited to actually watch it, and I'm just kind of surprised it didn't get more publicity than it actually did until it really felt until the week of, and it didn't seem like there was really a whole lot pushed on the fight. It's kind of crazy, actually.
You know, the fun thing is, I think there's more publicity that Sean Strickland is going to get the winner of that fight. You
Yeah.
know, I think there's more publicity on that right now than it is with two fighters fighting the main event tomorrow. And I mean, that just shows how popular Sean Strickland is too. You know, whether people believe he won or lost the last fight, it shows how much Sean has grown in his career. And just for him to fight Paulo Costa, you know, and when he didn't have to, and then go, hey, no, this is my statement. I'm putting my foot on the ground. I'm not fighting again
Mhm.
until, you know, I fight for the title. And, you know, here in the spot.
Yeah, and I'm also excited to see him fight either guy. Sean, it's not even about the fight itself. It's just the lead up, the stuff he
Mhm.
says. I think it's great. I think it's hilarious, but I think it is like it's real. It's who he is, and it might be a little bit selling the fight for sure. I mean, you got to do what you got to do, but for the most part, like I just enjoy. I because every time he comes to the press conference, I'm just waiting for the phrase. Well, here's the thing, guys. I'm always
Yeah.
waiting for it. It's always like, and I'm like, what is he gonna say this time? I think when he fought, actually when he fought Duplessis in Canada, he was making a joke about Trudeau freezing his bank account if he says anything against like the Canadian government, and it was great. Like, I mean, the fans are cheering on, not just because of him, them being fans of him, but the way he was. It kind of felt like he had the Canadians' backs almost. So
Hmm.
that was a really cool moment, and I really enjoy it. Like, I think like genuinely man to man, I think everyday kind of guy. I think he's a stand up guy. You get the cameras in there. Of course, he's gonna sell himself a little bit, but I love the guy, and he honestly 100% deserves a title shot. If he didn't, I don't know. I would be like, okay, UFC, you guys have lost a fan here because
He's a fun person in general because he's brutally honest, and sometimes it's
yeah,
like too honest, you know. But it also it's so honest that it gets you to like to understand. But there's the catch: you could be offended, you know. So it depends on your personality. Me, dude. It's so hard to offend me. It's ridiculous. Like I make jokes about myself. I'm fine, you know. And then sometimes I'm like, oh, dude, that's a good one, but fuck, you had to say it like that. So I
yeah.
remember I got a cut. I took a knee by accident. A kid would throw up a head kick, and I ran into the knee, and I had like a gigantic gash 3 weeks before my fight. And I was still gonna fight, but with that being said, I can't see the cut, you know, and so I have this gash now. I'm just pouring out, dripping, and I'm like, how bad is it? I'm thinking it's like a little hairline cut, whatever the case may be. Then I'm like, oh, cool, whatever. We're just gonna clean it up. We'll do maybe a stitch or two, or some bandages, and I'll be fine. And I walk up to Sean because I know 100% he's gonna tell me. Other people are like, oh, that's a good cut. Oh, you're bleeding, you're cut. I walk up to Sean and I go, Sean, how does this cut look? He goes, dude, it looks like you got a vagina on your face. And the vagina's from Vegas. So it's fucking huge. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Yeah. And I'm just like, I 100% understood it. I get it. Damn, I got to get stitches. And I think I ended up getting like 9 or 12 stitches that day. Um, and yeah, it was a damn good cut. Like it was a very, very bad one where I stopped sparring the 3 weeks before my fight because it was that big. I was afraid that like anything was gonna open up. But yeah, he's just straightforward. And I can tell you this, like when I spar with Lazy Boy or the Mexicans, especially when they spar with each other, dude, we go to war. Like we don't give a fuck. I don't care if it's practice, sparring, like we bang. And Sean is a person that he's a very big guy naturally. He's tall, and so he likes to use his stature. And so when you have, for example, a featherweight or a lightweight versus myself, me, I don't care. I'll spar with everybody, especially when the rounds like people don't have a partner. I was like, cool, let's go. I'll go with you. We'll just move around and have some fun. But when you go to Mexican, you hit them hard or a clean shot. We're like, oh fuck you, let's go, and they just want to bang. So it ends up being a fight against a damn lightweight. And whether it's me, I know Lazy had a fight with Brian Suture, who fights in the PFL. Brian, I believe, fights at featherweight, and Lazy obviously at flyweight. And they're fucking. I'm just like, oh my god, somebody's gonna get knocked out. Like you're just kind of like, oh, they're both friends. We all stay in the same house. And then Sean is in the back, like, oh, I fucking love these Mexicans. Yeah, I love when Mexicans fight. Like, he just gets so stereotypical, but it's
Yeah.
awesome because it's true. And he's like, fuck, I only come here to watch the Mexicans fight. Kill him, kill him. It's just, dude, it's amazing. So that's how he is naturally. He's just, it's not even that he's a shit talker. That's just how he speaks. Like, and that's why I say with people in general, like, it's not, dude. Yeah, he might say certain things purposely for the show, like talking more about the fight or whatever the case may be. But whatever he says, it's been up there the entire time. He's just waiting for his opportunity to say it. That's all it is. So
Yeah.
he is who he is. There's no like when Conor McGregor started promoting himself, you're like, oh, that's Conor McGregor. When Colby Covington
Yeah.
or
Oh,
Henry
100%.
Cejudo
Very
or
obvious.
whoever the fuck Usman, 30% of myself, and it's like, come on, dude, this is a lot.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
Sean, Connor, and there's a handful of other people, Bilal too. Like that's them. Like whatever they say, that's them. They don't fake it to just get the hype up. They 100% mean it, and if they don't mean it, they more than likely won't say it.
Yeah. With the stereotypes, I gotta ask you this, okay? Because you're not gonna get offended. When it comes
Oh, I
to
can't wait.
oh, all right, let's get
Yeah,
this
pull out
rolling.
my phone. Just
Okay, so I know there's various stereotypes of Latinos and Mexicans. Is there any of them that are actually true that you can speak of?
Okay, so it was funny. I actually a whole separate but kind of the same thing. I went to commentate for Titan FC, and I'm with John LaQuasta and Kayla Harrison was our co-commentator with me. And me, it was a Japanese fighter versus a Mexican, and then there's another Hawaiian on the card. Those three types of people I consider the same. They like again, and this is the stereotype. Mexicans, do we go to war? Like you watch any type of Mexican fight, like that's 100% every fighter. We might not even be that good, but we are gonna fight until we die. Japanese, the whole stereotype of the kamikaze thing, like if for people who watch boxing, Japanese and Mexicans actually have a feud in boxing, like Mexico and Puerto Rico or whatever the case may be. Like, dude, Japanese and Mexican fighters, they will die like in the ring. That's just how they fight. And Hawaiians, dude, Hawaiians get besides their skin color, they get confused for being Mexican all the time because they want to bang. And I just want to say, every Hawaiian fighter that I fought, dude, are really good boxers. Oh, so good. But they all like those three types of people. It's 100% a war of attrition. I think the Hawaiians are the best technical boxers out of the three. But they will slowly get pushed back by the Mexican and Japanese. And Mexican and Japanese, dude, they don't care. They will keep on going. Mexicans have the best conditioning, and I think, best conditioning. And Japanese probably have the biggest heart because I don't know if you ever seen the fight. It was a Japanese fighter versus Lomachenko. Like that's my prime example. They will go down 20 times and get back up and still fight, even if they're fighting like this. They would the whole kamikaze thing. Like I'm gonna try to take you out with me. Like that's 100% as stereotypical as it can be. Those three stereotype people are phenomenal, and it's a war of attrition. If you're gonna fight those three people, doesn't matter if they're good, doesn't matter if they're bad. It's gonna be one hell of a fight if you can't finish them. Dude. Look at the Mexican kid who fought with the green hair who fought Sean O'Malley. That's the
Oh
prime
yeah,
example of a
Monhito, I think it
Mexican.
was named.
Like
Yeah.
that kid got so much respect from that fight because he never went down. Even at the end of the fight, he never went down. That fucker took every shot and was like, I don't care if I'm good. I don't care if I'm bad. I'm taking this opportunity and pushing forward. And that's Hawaiians, Mexicans, and Japanese. I can't speak for any other race, but
Yeah.
and there's
Well,
dude, there's 100% stereotypes of every other race, and I have more.
100%. I mean, you start throwing the white jokes here. You know what? Two fighters that remind me of someone who can take a shit kicking, and I'll say number one spot the worst I've ever seen. And actually, I watched this with my father. It was the Brian Ortega because I guess he is Mexican,
Yeah.
and Ortega and Holloway, and I never seen anybody take an ass kicking like that. I mean, just got the fucking. That's I'm gonna use a fuck here. He got the
Yeah,
fucking
please.
shit kicked out of him, and like I mean,
Yeah.
hey, I like Ortega, but like facts are facts, and I was kind of not enjoying the fight. Like I think it was getting into the third round, and I was
You're just
like,
getting
man, you
sad.
guys. I almost kind of felt like usually I'm like, yeah, when I see someone get knocked out, it's exciting, whatever. But for me, like I'm like watching Ortega get fucking beat. And I'm like, fuck, man, like stop. Like someone throw the fucking towel in. There was no like, I mean, he stood there and he took it, and it was like, no, like he's going out for round 4. It's like, no, I'll go. And it was that, yeah, the moment that he got his ass whooped, that was probably one of the worst I've ever seen. And then not so much did she get her ass whooped, but one of the toughest Latinos I've ever seen is Pennington. Raquel
Hmm.
Pennington is one of the toughest women I've ever seen. She just doesn't quit. And I mean, that's what you said about like being a stereotypical thing. Like she just does not quit. It's crazy. And she's they just announced she's got her first title defense at UFC 307. I'm just trying to think who it's against. Oh Jesus.
With Jessica Penney.
What's that?
Is it Jessica Penney?
No. Who fought who beat Amanda
She
Nunes?
beat, yeah. I don't know her name.
You
It's
know
the
who it
bad
beat,
things.
but we're thinking of the same person.
The bad things I train with her, so I don't even know her name. Yeah, no, I got none. But I can tell you this: this is our wrestling stereotype. Just because the general population in my neighborhood or neighborhoods around were white, black, and Latino. All right, and most of the time Latino were Mexicans. So when it came to wrestling, this is like average level wrestling, high school wrestling. The white people usually were the most technical because at the time the white people in the surrounding neighborhoods lived in better neighborhoods, and so they had more money for like personal training, more technical
Mhm.
training. They were the smartest ones. All right, but they also had no heart. So if they beat you in the first or second round, that was probably because of their technique. But if you pushed them, they were going to die out because they didn't really have the heart. They had money, and usually when you come from poverty, you're pushing through. Black people were easily the most athletic. They will throw you, they'll toss you. They were the fastest. They were the best athletes. But there was one guy, which was also black, which is funny. He would say, chocolate melts. And we're like, what? He's like, yeah, dude, if you push us, we'll die. And depending on certain people, and Floyd Mayweather actually breaks that stereotype, because that fucker never melts, is every black guy from what I've seen, you look at some of the most athletic fighters. Tyron Woodley's a huge example. Tyron Woodley is a phenomenal fighter, and if you fight him at his pace, oh, dude, you're fucked because he hits so hard, especially at his distance. You're, who did he knock out? Who did he knock out for the belt? Was it Bisbing or was it? I don't know.
Robbie Lawler.
Robbie Lawler, like that is the prime example of how athletic he is. All right, but if you fight him at your pace, you push him, the chocolate will melt and he will slowly go down and break away.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
what. And then Mexicans, dude, weird. Neither the least, we're neither the most athletic or the most technical, but we have the biggest heart. Dude, we're gonna come forward with everything we have, and if you do not finish us in the first or second period or in fights rounds, you're fucked in that third because we're gonna push through. And actually, I have a prime example. It was in the prelims a few weeks or actually a month ago with a guy named Draco, and Draco fought. Dude, he was just an opportunity fight for him, and he was fighting this Canadian fighter, and the Canadian fighter was easily much better, way better. But Draco, he has green hair, so if you remember this, but Draco just pushed through. He took all the shots, pushed through, and out of nowhere, the Canadian fighter started melting on him. He was like, "Oh shit! Like this is different." And Draco just pushed. So where he dominated the second half of the second round, and then the third round, I think it was like a 10-8. Just killed this kid. And it wasn't that Draco's technique got better. It's just the Canadian fighter's technique slowly went down because Draco just pushed through. He had the biggest heart. So I always say Mexicans aren't the most technical or most athletic, but they will push forward until you finally die. Like that's the way majority of Mexicans compete. And obviously, if you add skill and technique and whatever to that, even better.
Yeah.
I think I'll use a perfect stereotype. Okay, we had Tyron Woodley for most athletic, chocolate melts. We have Cain Velasquez, not the most technical, but dude, he pushed through in every single fight and
Hmm.
would just dominate. And then we just who's a really good. I think Rory McDonald, phenomenal, white fighter, phenomenal white fighter, but obviously pushed to the brink. Dude, he's slowly gonna die out. And that's the whole Robbie Lawler, Rory McDonald type of thing. So I think those are my three stereotypes right there. Those are my picks.
You know what? What's your thoughts about in any MMA organization the idea of free speech and what crosses the line and and what doesn't?
See, here's the thing. And this is probably where I get the what's it called? My what are those called? Where it's like I'm gonna say something and people might not like it. Like hot topics or whatever.
Hmm.
Is I believe, especially here in the States, dude, we technically have freedom of speech. And I say that just because we now don't anymore because people are super sensitive or whatever the case may be. And especially in our day, at least in school, they say, what, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt me. Dude, I heard some kid tell me the opposite. They're like, that's not how it goes. It's like the opposite. It's like sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can really mess up my mental health or some shit. I'm like, where the fuck did that come from? Like, there were Sean Stricklands everywhere when I was a kid. That was natural, you know. But
Yeah.
now he sticks out like a sore thumb because no one is like that anymore, you know. So
Hmm.
because of this whole sensitive and woke culture and all this other stuff, now
Oh fuck.
I think
Yeah.
you can say for me again, you can say whatever you want about me, about my life, about whatever the case may be. But if we're promoting a fight, and I think what's his name? Patty Pimlet talked about this. But if you start talking about my family, if you start talking about, I don't have kids, but my kids, my mother, my brother, my deceased father, anything like that, dude, I will fucking try to kill you. Like that is my thing. You know, like there's just that line where, dude, this is business, and now you're making it personal. And this is what I think Conor McGregor did with Poirier. You know, especially in that second fight, he's like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
wasn't. Your wife was in my DMs and all that
No, that
stuff." And
was
Poirier's
sorry.
like, "No."
That was the third fight. But yes, I know what you're talking about.
You know, it's like, dude, this is a lot. Or I think Colby was talking about it with Masvidal. And I think even though what Masvidal did was wrong, with fighting him in the street or jumping him in the street, if you want to say, Colby was talking about how he's a horrible father and his kids are this and his wife is
And
this. And Masvidal's like, you don't know where I'm from, dude. I'm gonna fuck you up. Like
yeah.
there's promoting a fight, which Masvidal does very well, but then he also knows you don't cross this line. And that once you cross that line, that's to me that's fucked up. And it's like crossing the line again. The whole Masvidal thing, where it's like, I'm gonna fight you inside the cage. Oh, dude, I'm gonna fight you on site. And there's the I think that's personally for me. That's my line. Again, you can say whatever you want, but the fuck around and you find out. So that's also what I like to say.
Yeah. And you know what? I think every kid does go through that phase where, yeah, like you learn bullies are going to say whatever and does sometimes hurt you. I mean, hey, I was a kid once and sure, I got pissy with kids saying shit because he said shit that was personal. And
Hmm.
I think that's where it hurts people. Like if someone says to you, Shorty, yeah, you fucking, like if you get some fans this, Shorty, you lost your fight, you fucking suck. Well, okay. Well, then come on, bitch, let's go. Yeah, come on, let's fight. But no, it's like okay, that's your opinion, and but I got several other people here that love me and think I'm great. So it's like the new generation of kids. It's like now it's I need a safe place for my mental health. It's like yo, it's like I get it. If someone was like, I get it. Like, there's levels of what's acceptable, and this is where comedy comes from. I watched this comedy special last night. I don't remember the fellow's name. He's really getting up in the ranks there. I don't know his name, but he does a lot of like he feeds off of the crowd a lot,
Hmm.
and the whole time he's just shit talking the crowd. And I mean, if you can't handle that, like like what are
Yeah.
you doing?
Oh yeah.
And
And it's a
that's what
comedy
comedy
special.
is. It's all about making fun of people and making fun of yourselves most of the time. And yeah, like I think it's great. Like when I was on my honeymoon with my wife and we had a black guy up there and I'm like already knowing what's gonna happen. Like I'm waiting for the jokes. And I'm kind of sitting there, and I'm like the white guy here sitting
Yeah.
like should I be laughing? Like, I mean, just in case. And the guy's like saying and just making fun of himself the whole time. So it was great, and then that's what kids, the new generation, need to realize. Like, for the most part, like if kids says on something in the schoolyard, it's like, okay, screw you. Like, see you later. Um,
Yeah.
what is not good is when you start seeing these videos, and I've seen it. Um, for example, this was actually local, or not local, but like in my region. and there was some kid, some autistic kid, and this is what breaks my heart. This is what actually gets me pissed off. Is there's this video and they record it. Is like it was a group of these kids and they were like beating up this autistic kid who obviously was vulnerable, and they just they just beat the crap out of him and filmed it and put it on the internet, and there was no repercussions. And I said, yeah, if I had saw that, like, it's one thing they want to yap at him or whatever. They're ignorant and they don't know any better, or they do know better, but
Yeah.
they're not. They want to yap at a kid that's autistic. It's like, like, are you fucking serious right now? But you're the loser, But when you start doing things like that, and that's where I think for me, outside fighting, that's where you cross the line. And we just lost Shorty. I was gonna say we almost lost you there for a second.
I don't know. It's the Wi-Fi here, but you were gonna say,
But yeah, and that's where you cross the lines when things like that start to happen. And for me, outside of fighting, that's where you cross the line. Is yeah, yep, 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 okay. But when you start picking on people, or you start seeing old folks, and like some old guy I saw on the news, this was just in Canada. Some old guy was just biking along. Some punks came up and just sucker punched him. I'm like, you're gonna sucker punch a 90-year-old man? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And that's where I take shit like that
shout out
personal.
to
And I don't.
Conor McGregor. No,
Yeah, fucking guy.
punch an old man at the bar. So two quick stories. When I was a freshman in high school, so 14, I mean, I'm still a big shit talker, but like then it was like kind of stupid shit talk, but still shit talk nonetheless. And in wrestling, we do whatever. I would always show up late. I was a jackass. And I remember I had this one coach where I always talk smack to, and him and I always had fun, banter back and forth. And I guess one day I said something about his wife, like, something stupid, like, "Oh, that's not what your wife said last night," to a joke, and it was a good comeback. And his switch flipped, and he goes, "Come here." Like it's funny how like we were talking shit. He's super loud. He's like, "No, come here, come on." I was like, "What's up?" And he pulled me outside to where no one can see, and he was like 6'2", big guy,
Oh,
probably weighed like 200 pounds, and I'm like 80 pounds at the time. I was tiny, dude. And he looks down at me and he grabs me like this, and he's a teacher, and he goes, "I don't care what the fuck you say, but don't you ever say anything about my wife, okay?" He goes, "We can talk smack, I don't care, but you never say anything about my wife." Because all my friends are laughing. They're like, "Oh," and then stepped outside. He grabbed me, and I was like, "Okay, my bad." And then it was fine. So that's where I knew you can't talk about someone's family. Then the other story is I used to mentor kids growing up, and these kids were orphans, adopted, whatever the case may be. So they had, really
mhm.
tough upbringings, especially me, inner city and Cicero. It's like just one of those suburbs too that's like, and it's factory town. And there's one kid that just always wanted to fight. And not because he wanted to be a fighter, it's just that most people would always make fun of him. His name was Igor, and he was from Russia. So a kid named Igor in a Latino neighborhood, dude, you stand out like a sore thumb. You're like
Oh
pale
yeah.
white. And he was also very awkward too. Yeah, at least when he was younger. So a lot of people would pick on him, and he would add fuel to the fire by wanting to fight back. So it didn't help. And he goes, "Oh, I want to beat this kid's ass, blah, blah." I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "Oh, he called me a bitch." I'm like, "Igor, I beat you up all the time for calling me a bitch." Like, dude, I used to fuck with that kid all the time. I was like his bully too. I was like, "Dude, but I beat you up and you still call me a bitch. What do you think this kid's gonna do? You beat him up, whether you can or not, you're gonna get in trouble, and then he's still gonna call you a bitch. So what's the point? Like you have to work on yourself when it comes to whatever
Yeah.
people say, dude. You gotta shrug it off. You have to try your best to shrug it off. Because if not, anything people say is going to eventually start to offend you, and you're always going to have a trigger, and you don't want that. So, and eventually he was able to work it out, slowly but surely. And when I say
Yeah.
slowly, I mean like fuck, like years. But the fact is, like, there's even things. I guess apparently I found this out in Mexico. Apparently, I don't like being called a liar for whatever childhood trauma I have, but everything else, dude, you can call me anything whatsoever. I just fucking hate being called a liar. And so every time now somebody calls me a liar, I'm like, let's calm down. Let's calm down. Let's figure this out. Let's figure it out before I overreact and have impulsive thoughts and do stupid shit. So it's 100% whatever you can work on your triggers, however you can manipulate yourself to go, you know what? I'm good. I'm going to avoid the situation. This doesn't make sense. Let's try your best to think logically instead of irrationally or impulsively in that moment. And just the scary movie too. Let me be the bigger man and walk away. walk
And
away.
and you know what? Like, it also comes with, I think, experience and as you age, like what what pissed me off or caused me, like, in terms of a situation with another person might piss me off 10, 15 years ago. Now it's like I just walk away. It's like, all right, see ya. And especially when it's not personal. It's you get somebody that's drunk and obnoxious at the bar or something, or at an event. Yeah, like it's annoying, of course. Like I don't uh come on, Shorty. We got him back in. All right. I was like, come on, Shorty, let's go.
It's the Wi-Fi. I'm
But
toes.
no worries. Um, yeah. So what I was saying, like with age, you just learn to know what's really worth, throwing bombs or clashing over, and like it's like you get that one drunk, obnoxious person at the bar or some event, and yeah, of course, yeah, it's annoying, and you wish that someone just light him up and just knock him out, right? Like just shut the guy up. But at the end of the day, it's not personal, and I mean, I've had very many instances, and that's why I don't really go out. One, because I don't like to go out much anymore, and two, it's just the same bullshit that you gotta deal with. And I can remember one of the very last times I ever went out, and I went out with a buddy of mine, and we were just going for a good time, and then I was like, hey, okay, well, I gotta head back. So I was staying at my parents for the night, and yeah, and we had a few drinks, and he's like, hey, are you could just walk home? Like, yeah, why not? He's like, man, this place ain't like what it used to be when you used to live here. I was like, okay, well, I guess. And some guys walking out of the bar yapping at us. He's like, oh, he's like, you said you were gonna challenge me to fight. And we're like looking back, like, what? What the fuck are you talking about? And basically, my buddy of mine's like, fucking go home. You're drunk. Guy's like, oh yeah, but kept following us. And then I was like, okay, well, we can't fucking go somewhere we can't be seen, because in case this guy can bang, I don't want to get in shit. Like, I don't want to have to deal with it. And I basically talked to the guy, said, dude, listen, you're drunk. You're not thinking this through, man. Just go home. He's like, oh, you fucking bitch ass. You just don't want to fight. I'm like, no, not really. So, like, fucking go home, man. You're drunk. He's like, oh, well, fuck, you guys aren't worth it anyway. I'm like, no, we're not. Like, we're two fucking, 5'8", size guys who, like, we don't give a shit. Like, we don't care. We're not investing our energy into what you got going on. So it's kind of it's one of those things where you just have to, I think a lot of people, it's not about the people that are the ones that are instigating it. It's about it's yourself. It's you have to learn something about yourself, and learning that you have to learn how to control yourself before, because there's always gonna be people, there's always gonna be dicks out there that are just gonna be who they are, and that's just how it is. Before we go any further, someone commented. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce his name. It says Vulcan Arctic or whatever. I don't know how to pronounce, but he says he asked, "What's up?" And he asked, "Do you think Pat Pitlick wins at the Dan White Contender Series? I like his striking. Think he is more technical than Gustafson." I guess I'll answer that one. Uh, I think he does. Pat Pitt, like he fought at Unified, and the UFC just put on their Dana White looking for a fight episode finally after like so many months, and it's unfortunate that they put it. The UFC always films everything in the wintertime in Canada. They always do. They always, anytime they have events, it always seems like it's in the wintertime. So everyone paints this idea that in Toronto it's always snowing. It's like, no, that's not the case. It's just wintertime. And even at that, like, we don't always have snow. But to answer your question, Vulcan, yeah, like, I think that Pat, like, I mean, he's a little bit older, and Dana White had a point. It's a little risky to just sign him to a contract at, like, I think he's 34 years old. Um, but I mean, I think he does have a lot of good technical skills. He's on a really good streak. He's got really a lot of power in his hands. The problem is I don't know a lot about Gustafson, but I mean, I got to go with my Canadian boy there. So, and especially he's local too. So I got to go with Pat Pitt. Like, Shorty, you know anything about this guy?
I don't, but I can tell you I was at the Contender Series this week for the first event.
That's right. Yeah, you were.
And my guy Rami Hamed won. Sadly, out of the 5 fights, he was the only one not to get chosen. Even though he did win, he fought the most experienced guy on the card. He was 34-7, ranked number 2 in China. This guy, dude, could take a shot. My friend Rami hits hard, And given
Mm-hmm.
he's like Adesanya, where he does ones and twos, but that's pretty much about it. And this guy ate most of them. And when I say clean, I mean like clean shots. You're like, this guy won't die. Like you got to figure out something else. And Rami wasn't able to get to finish, but there were also 4 finishes in the card, so he was the only one not to get chosen. And with
Mm-hmm.
that being said, Dana didn't give the best post fight speech for him when he didn't get chosen. He's like, I'm not looking for 33-year-old prospects. And because you didn't get to finish compared to these other guys, it doesn't look like you want to win the fight. It doesn't look like you want something exciting for me to sign you, as an incentive. So I was just like, damn it. Like he didn't even give him a chance of like, oh, we'll have you back here and see what happens. It was just like, and my friend took the fight, I think, on a 5-day or 7-day notice. So I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh, dude, it's crazy. So, it was the first time, and I again now can relate to some of these fighters where it's you can win on the contender series and still be sad about winning because you didn't get the performance that you wanted, which would have
Yeah.
been the Dana White, calling you up to the UFC. So it is a very, very shitty experience. Because man, it's the first time. If it was any other fight, just a win. It doesn't matter how you won, just a win, dude. To win and feel bad is a horrible, horrible feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So it sucks, but hopefully Rami recovers up well because he went in with the injury and obviously made it a little more strenuous on himself after the fight. But takes those 30 days off that is mandatory for him and gets back to it, whether it's another contender series fight or back inside the cage for a last minute
Yeah.
opportunity in UFC. I know that's how Dan Ige ended up getting to the UFC as well.
Yep.
He
Yep.
didn't get the call. I'm not older, but he's up there, and
And
he
look at him
received
now.
received a notice and won, and then look at him, he's one of the best fighters, or at least most popular fighters in the division. So it's one of those opportunities where you gotta give and take, and that's something I told Rami as well, where it's like, dude, even if you did lose in the contender series, there's always a chance. You
Yeah.
just have to keep on proving your point, keep on taking whatever fights you can, and this career is short. That's also why I'm fucking trying to fight as fast as possible because I just turned 32 and no one wants to fight me. I'm sad.
No, they're
Sad.
just
I'm gonna
they're
look
all
out the window.
they're all just tripping. That's all. That's all it is. That's all it is, Shorty. They're just tripping. They're like, oh fuck, I don't want to fight with Shorty. I'm gonna get my ass whooped. I'm gonna
All
get
right,
dunked on my
whatever the
head.
case may be, I just want to. I did knock out someone yesterday actually, and that was by accident. I was
Ooh,
sparring with somebody.
ouch.
Yeah, I was sparring with somebody, and they kind of did one of those like spinning elbows, like the ducking elbows, and I wouldn't say I blocked it, but I avoided it, but it hit the back of my head, and I was like,
Ooh.
all right, I'm done being nice. And I literally picked them up, and it was like I dropped them hard, but it was like
Ooh.
on the shoulder, neck, head area, and they stayed on the ground for like 3 seconds, and I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I felt like a big brother beating up a little brother, and then like, oh, dude, don't cry, no, 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 like, don't cry. Like, coach is gonna see, dad's gonna find out. Oh God, So I was like, shit.
Yeah. So there's a couple. Vulcan says, yeah, I could argue Rami has better striking than some UFC fighters, even. Dot dot dot. And then he says, yeah. So look into Pat Shorty. He is a cool guy, a good fighter. Or watch the Dana White contender. Or sorry, the Dana White looking for a fight fun episode. I do agree. I did watch it as well because I saw that. I knew that they were in Toronto. It says that they were in Toronto, so I knew that was the unified one that they went to. Obviously months later they posted. I don't know why. But now that it's up there, I was like, oh, I gotta watch it because one, I didn't see the event, and I was like, you know what, it's in Canada, and Dana only gave two guys out of that whole card a shot, and they didn't get a contract. They just got on the contender series. But mind you, the one guy, I think he was in the UFC for a very short time or something, and he apparently said something stupid, and they cut him, and then obviously Pat. So yeah, if you do, cool. But yeah, no, it's what you were saying about Rami though is that yeah, like it's the thing. I don't think that it's the end of the road for him, and based off of what you spoke about him, I think he has a lot of good miles ahead of him, and also too, like it is a little harsh, like what Dana said, and I get where Dana Way is coming from. But there's always a chance that hey, he gets another fight, wins a couple of more fights, and they say, let's bring him back on the contender series. Let's see, maybe he had maybe just the fight didn't work out, or whatever. And at the end of the day, like I just don't think it's the end of the road for him. So that's it. And that's it for a lot of other fighters. So, we'll see. We'll see where Rami goes. And honestly, and when the fights were going on, I actually did see in the background. I was like, oh, Shorty, because I knew that I knew that you were gonna corner somebody, but I didn't know much about the guy. I forgot his name and all that. So when Rami come up, I can remember I was watching it, and you're standing in the background. I think you're about on the right, and so he's coming up, and as like I could see you, and I can't remember who I was watching really slow. I was kind of looking at my phone, looking up and down, and I looked up and I thought it was like, that's not short. That is Shorty. I'm like, oh yeah, there he
Yeah,
is.
just the purple
Yeah,
hair. That's it.
yeah. And then and I was gonna comment something. They put something on Instagram, and it was something about the stars are here, or we have some familiar. We have some familiar faces in the house, and they had and it was mainly just some of the fighters that were in the crowd, or some
Hmm.
that retired, whatever. And I was gonna comment, where the fuck is Lord Shorty here? Are you gonna post him or not? But I get
Yeah.
it, because you guys were cornering anyway. That wouldn't matter anyway. But yeah, I was thinking about doing it. I was like, yeah, no, delete. Never mind, I shouldn't.
Now,
But
you want a young Jake check? Used to train Rami and I, and she actually came in to watch the fight as well.
oh yeah, yeah,
So
that's right. That's
she was
right.
super supportive, man, and it was really cool seeing her as well. And her and a couple people, because again, like I'm not in UFC anymore, but people know who I am, and so
Oh
I'm
yeah.
there cornering, and I do the first round, and then I sit back down. All I hear is Charlotte. I just see Joanna like or other people. I was like, oh, that's awesome. I haven't seen you guys in years, but then also. Um, it was actually really funny. So, obviously, for people who don't know, I fought Alex Perez. And when I fought Alex Perez, obviously didn't go my way, but he's still in the UFC. I'm not. But I see him every single day at the UFC PI, and we just talk shit. Obviously, friendly banter, but we just love to talk shit to each other. And we're supposed to corner opposite fighters at the spear. He's cornering O'Day, Osborne, and I'm cornering Lazy Boy. So I was like, oh, so we're gonna fight again, like, oh, okay, let's go, homie. I was like, Lazy, you gotta win this fight for me. And at the fight when Rami's fighting, I look up and I'm like, what the hell? Alex Perez is sitting on the opposite side, and out of nowhere, I'm just like, and I do this, and I'm like, hi, and he just looks up, he's like, I was like, oh well, fuck you. I was like, Robbie, you kick his ass. So it was a funny thing. And then after, like, I didn't even shake the opponent's hand. I just went up to Alex. I'm like, good job, good job. I win this one, and just walked away. So it is really funny just to run into people and have a good time at the PI, at the Apex, and just overall, man, it's like we talked about. It's a sport. We try our best not to take it personal unless you talk about somebody's family, which
Yeah.
we neither of us have. So that's a good thing.
So Vulcan has a couple more questions. First one, what is your fighting name, Shorty? Well,
Just Shorty. Sadly, just Shorty. I couldn't think of any, like when I was a kid. The most popular, at least in my head at the time, was Andre Arlovsky. His nickname was the Pit Bull, and I grew up with Pit Bulls all day, like my whole life. So I was like, oh, cool. I want to be like Jose the Pit Bull Torres, because I was a little like
yeah.
Pit Bull Terrier type of thing, and I was like, man, let's just stick to Shorty because everyone's gonna call me Shorty anyway. So Jose Shorty Torres is my fighter name as well. So my middle name is Angel, but if you know me, it's because of the Shorty name.
Or if you're Luke and the one of the co-hosts, and you fuck up everybody's name at the beginning of every episode, maybe I need the reminder too. I don't know. But he also had another question. Sorry. Apparently I can't read either. I want to become a fighter too. Main specialty is boxing. Any advice for a new fighter? And he also said, like and subscribe. Good guys, good show. I'm like, thanks, Vulcan. And here you go,
I
sir.
appreciate that. For me, I always tell people get inside the gym. Just like boxing, you're gonna suck in the beginning, and slowly you're gonna progress. You have to get into the MMA gym, and you have to do stuff you don't want to do, and it's usually the stuff
Mm-hmm.
you're bad at: jiu-jitsu, judo, wrestling, everything a boxer is now good at on the ground, or even kicking. So the fact is, you have to get in there and accept you are going to suck. But, obviously, it can be a sponge and have a lot of opportunity to learn, but it's gonna be bad in the beginning. It's natural. And if it ends up being better than you expected, even better. But I'm just gonna I'm gonna put it low ball, and I like to low ball things as much as possible and go, it's gonna suck. You're gonna get tapped out. You're gonna get beat up. You're gonna do this. You're gonna do that. But if you keep on going every single day or as much as you can, it shows how
Mhm.
committed and how much heart you have into what you want to accomplish. And for you, if you want to be an MMA fighter, that's stuff you're gonna have to do. You can still make boxing your biggest strength, and it can always be your biggest strength, but you're also doing MMA now, hopefully, where now you're wrestling, you're throwing, you're doing grappling, you're doing jiu-jitsu, you're doing whatever the case may be, and not just using your hands. They can still be your strongest weapon, but now add some kicks, add this, add that, and have some fun. So get inside the gym, join your local MMA gym, and hopefully you have a good coach by your side that goes,
Mhm.
hey, we're gonna have you train for at least 4 to 6 months until we believe you might be ready for an amateur debut for MMA or other sports like kickboxing or jiu-jitsu tournament or whatever the case may be, to better prepare you to maybe one day you want to be a professional fighter. So try that as well and go from there. And they, your gym, will find fights for you. So as an amateur, you do not need a manager until maybe the end of your amateur career. And then from there, you can go pro.
Mhm.
Again, baby steps, but get inside the gym and try it out. And just know, accept that it might suck and it might be bad and it might be worse than you even expect. So accept that and you'll better be prepared to go back another day and another day and another day compared to I'm already the best fighter in the world because it's not going to happen.
I actually had a question for Vulcan. Where you from, brother? And then also on top of what you said, Shorty, kind of a two-parter there. I think like any kind of competition you do, and I guess I could probably share this to Vulcan as well. Any kind of competition you do, whether it's fighting, any sport, or anything you do in life, everything's hard. Everything you do is going to be hard. Eventually, I mean, you might encounter easy parts of the road, but everything you're going to do is going to be hard because that's how it is. If I've always been taught, what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it generally. Um, Maybe that's not so true to fighting because, of course, you can still lose a fight even how hard you work. You can still lose a fight because that's just how it goes. But if you have a shit diet, you don't train on the days, yeah, you probably should have, or I don't feel like it. Well, that might translate into how your fight might go or how your preparation might go. So, yeah, if any for anybody that wants to do anything, any competition or anything in life, you got to work hard. That's just you can have you can have crazy genetics, you can have all the skill set you want in the world, but if you don't train hard, you don't do any if you bitch out and if you try to take the easy way out, that's just going to translate to your results most of the time. Vulcan says, I'm Turkish, but I'm born and raised in the Netherlands. Got a great former kickboxing champ as trainer. I'm like, oh, who's your trainer?
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, you know what? I like that. Well, we got somebody from the Netherlands. Actually, you know what? I've been doing ASMR actually.
Hmm.
Believe it or not, I started doing some ASMR. One because I find it's very therapeutic. So when I do it for myself and I can hear myself doing it and doing it for people, it's kind of a bonus. But I actually had someone from the Netherlands subscribe, and he was telling me like, "Oh, I really like it," and I'm like, "What is it about people in the Netherlands coming? Having interest in this Canadian here?" Uh, he says, "I can't even pronounce this. I can. Can you read the comments?"
There's a bubble here. No, I cannot.
Okay, he says Ridion L as a
Oh yeah, Red Redon,
Yeah, get it right.
Redon, Redon, El Asrati. I don't know. I'm
Look at that
not.
tongue flip.
Not a great name, but yeah, not a great name. But he fought some good guys from his time. That's awesome.
That's
Again, you
awesome,
take
man.
whatever knowledge you can, and obviously in hoping that he teaches you stuff that he wish he would have learned more, put more emphasis on,
Hmm.
in his career as a time as a fighter. So, dude, take advantage of having a great coach that obviously has real life experience inside the ring or the cage or whatever the case may be, and just go from there. And you're gonna find other coaches that are gonna try to help you. So take it as much notes as you possibly can.
Hmm. That's right. That's right. You know what though? I was kind of surprised. Like, I mean, it's looking pretty good over there. I know you're still 3 hours ahead, but like, it's already 8 o'clock here and it's still light out. I love it. I love
Oh
it.
yeah, it's
Um,
it doesn't get dark until like 8 p.m. here. And with all the lights, oh my god, it's beautiful at night. That's one thing. If you stay like right
Yeah.
now, we're in a really good area where we can see everything. Um, it's gonna be so dope at night. Oh my gosh.
Vulcan says, "Man, it's the same guy. He's just he's on the button here." I reached out to Tom Harnick too, and we'll ask him to give some advice towards my debut. Do you know Tom or Thom? It's like THOM. So I don't know if there's
I
a
Thumb, but hey, maybe a spell check. But again, take whatever advice you can, even if
hmm
it's not a active fighter right now. If he's fought before, like that's experience. So take advantage of it, and take everything with a grain of salt, and just kind of go, cool. This works for me. This doesn't work for me. But just understand that it's a new sport for you, so nothing is going to work for you from the beginning. So you have to get it in your head that you are going to be bad at whatever they teach you and then slowly progress. If you progress extremely fast, dude, awesome. But you're going to slowly progress and that could be your bread and butter. I can tell you from wrestling, the move I hated the most was a fireman's carry. My favorite move now is a fireman's carry because that was my bread and butter. And I just somehow perfected it to where basically, even if you beat me in a wrestling match, I tell you, dude, I'm gonna fireman's you. Even if you beat me, I'm gonna hit you with it. And I would always toss someone. So it was my worst move from the start, and then out of nowhere became my best move. So you never know because you're bad at it doesn't mean it's not gonna work for you. There's always something in that toolbox that's gonna be, come in handy at some point in life. So try your best to practice the moves that you need. And what's Bruce Lee has a quote. I don't fear a man who's practiced one move 10,000 times. I fear a man who's practiced one move 10,000 times. So practice that one move as much as you can, then move on to the next. Practice as much as you can, move on to the next. Don't just practice 2, 3 times, go on to the next one because I got it. No, trust me. I'm I'm a black belt in multiple different forms. I'm 32 years old with 42 MMA fights, 50 plus in kickboxing, Muay Thai, and 100 in wrestling. There's still so much shit I gotta learn that I'm still bad at. So I have to accept and kind of go from there.
hmm And he just said, thanks you guys. Have a blessed weekend. That's nice. Thanks for the kind words, guys. Very welcome. And man, thanks. You know what, Vulcan, thanks for watching. I appreciate the questions. We both appreciate the questions. Um,
Share
actually,
us
for
in the
you,
Netherlands. Share us.
yes. Um, yeah. Oh, I thought somebody else was gonna put something there. Shorty, for you though. After I think this signature thing you got going on, the Shorty Airlines. I think you need to come up with a T-shirt with you doing the throw and it says have a picture like a silhouette of you doing the throw and it says Shorty Airlines.
So I had an artist who made a shirt that it never came out, but it was me throwing my last opponent in that same
Yeah.
type of thing, and it was cool because I mean it was just the throw, and then in the back it was like a collaboration. But I want to have something to where we create a fun font, where it's like me throwing him, and then it says Shorty Airlines or But I want to create it in a very fun way. So I want to figure it out. The only problem is I want to be able to make things on the spot and
hmm
on demand compared to I buy in bulk and then I'm stuck with 100 plus shirts if no one buys them or a certain size that doesn't sell because everyone's a large and now I'm stuck with like 30 smalls. So
hmm
it's process, but in the fight, and that will help gain my popularity again and do certain things, but until then, fuck. So yeah.
You know what, man? I ever since I really got into the whole idea with wrestling, I have so much more respect for it. And okay, before I go any further, Vulcan, he's just firing out these questions. He said, do you guys have Izzy winning or DDP? I got Izzy. I think if he keeps it standing, he wins. Well, earlier, Shorty, you said that you had the edge to DDP. I did
Mhm.
earlier. Like I just theoretically kind of said, yeah, I think on the feet, uh, that Izzy kind of had more the edge in terms of being more technical, but in terms of the whole fight, I kind of have it more swaying towards DDP.
So
So yeah,
awkward.
yeah, he just has an awkward, just has such an awkward stance in the way he fights. So, um, yeah,
What
and
was the last thing you were gonna say?
yeah, so the idea about wrestling and learning like training it and back when I was more training regularly with guys, yeah, we did a lot of like just just a lot of like wrestling, a lot of rolling, a lot of that because again we weren't sparring too much because again like a lot of the guys are undisciplined and we just don't want anybody getting hurt. We're not we weren't competing, we weren't doing anything crazy, but I mean at least me and two of the other guys, we all have our black belts and Shotokan, so we have that experience of sparring and whatnot. But some of the other lads that came out, they just kind of learned a little bit of everything, and then actually eventually we got them to come out and do uh the the Shotokan. So I think the one guy I think he's got his yellow now, which he's doing really really good, and the other kid actually came up. This kid, so the one guy that came out and traded with his son came out and he wanted to trade with us. We're like, the kid's like 8, 9 years old. I'm not, no, like I don't even want to roll with the kid because like I mean I obviously gonna be like I'm gonna be nice, I'm gonna be gentle, but like I just don't. Shit happens. Shit really has happened. You slip, you fall on the kid, you crush the
Yeah.
kid's like just things happen. But anyway, the kid kind of came out and he just hit the bags while his dad would come out and train with us. And I remember the reason why I always like the high crotch takedowns is the story behind this is I always like the high crotch takedowns because we were learning. I kind of had a basic understanding how to do certain takeouts, and we were learning to do just single leg takedowns. And I was doing it wrong so much that it just started turning into high crotch takedowns. And because I was a shorter guy, I used to work with this kid Vince all the time, and he's just tall, awkward, lanky, and he just had such long legs, so I just pick up one leg and just flip him over, and the ceiling's only so high, so you hear his ankles hit the top bar of the on the way down, and I used to like throwing it so much, and they're like, Luke, no, you can't do that, and I just got a love for throwing it, and because I trained with them 80-90% of the time, I just throw that on them all the time, and yeah, it was great. And then I eventually stopped doing it because it was so predictable, and I ate a
Mhm.
couple knees, and then that was the end of that. But yeah, I don't know, I have the appreciation, and I think we talked about this, I think last episode about it was about the fight at UFC 304 about Bilal. People call him boring, but it's like I just have the appreciation of watching guys, especially the guys that are working and the way they set up the takedowns and whether they're using the strikes to set up the takedowns or the way they throw or even like I really watched like because I know you kind of have the judo backward the way you throw.
Yeah.
Even the video you post today, like how you had the inside trip, like I just enjoy watching it, especially in MMA fights. I'm not so much I can't watch a stream of like people just wrestle. I don't know. There's something about it, I just can't. But in a fight, when people throw set up really good throws, I just have appreciation for it, and it's cool to watch. And I get
Hmm.
it. Casuals are gonna say, "Oh, that's boring." Well, it is boring. Yeah, if you watch someone sit on the guy and nothing happens for 5 minutes, and the crowd starts booing, and they have them stand up. Yeah, I get that. Um,
Yeah. Well, I get it, man. It's a process, but the appreciation definitely grows, especially when it happens to you and all that. So it's and it is a fun time. That's why when I see people throw, I'm like, fuck yeah! You're like, or I forget that people don't know how to throw, and I'm like, it's right there, damn it! Oh, come on, I see it from a mile away. So it is what it is. But dude, I'm gonna go out enjoy
Yes.
Vegas with
Yes.
the
Sorry.
people
We are
here.
running out of time.
No, you're perfectly fine, man. And I can't wait. I hope you enjoy the fights tomorrow. I hope you enjoy the PFL fights tonight. And
I am actually.
it's gonna be an adventure. We're in Vegas, baby. We're on the strip. It's gonna be
Hell
great.
yeah.
I might
Hell
not
yeah.
make it to the next episode. You never know.
I don't know. We'll have to see. But
So
Shorty, I appreciate you taking the time as always. I know you kind of had a quite the day, and we were able to work something out. For people that watch, thank you for your questions. Thank you for watching. We both appreciate it. And nothing but love and support. And tune in for the next episode, guys. I think we might try to go live again, or we may not. I don't know.
yeah,
We'll
we'll
see
have some
where the
fun.
road takes
We'll
us.
mix it up. We'll have some fun. And also, if you guys have any questions that are not on the channel, you can message Luke and I on Instagram and just personally message us, and we'll see it, and we'll hold that message until the next
Yeah.
episode, and we'll respond then.
Absolutely. All right, Shorty, I'm gonna let you go. You go enjoy your night, and
I
I'm
appreciate.
going
It.
to
I actually
enjoy
got to go
the.
beat up Lazy Boy real quick, and then I'll enjoy my night.
Okay, well, go kick his ass then.
Oh, for sure, always. Appreciate it, guys. Take care of yourselves.